What's up, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Between the Cons. I'm your host, Kris, and with me today, Kris Too.
That's right. Co-host Supreme.
I thought you were about to start, singing like a musical. That's right. That's me.
Kris. It's Kris and Kris together again. I don't know. That's all I got, guys. Sorry.
But big shout outs to everybody that's hit us up on the internet this week. Everybody that has left a review on the iTunes store, we appreciate that as well. But today we've got a fun Topic Thunder episode for you. We're going to be talking about Old Man Logan, the original.
Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan.
The original by Mark Millar, the all new, all different reboot that happened during the Secret Wars event in 2015, and the upcoming movie simply titled Logan. Just to give you guys a little bit of background on those two comics and what we might be expecting, or what we can expect to see from those comics in the movie. So, yeah. With that being said, let's jump right in and let's do some Topic Thunder.
All right, so when we're talking about Old Man Logan, the first one that really comes up is the original that was written by Mark Millar and under the title Old Man Logan, and it was drawn by Steve McNiven. It came out in June 2008, and it ran through September 2009, and it was Wolverine titles numbers 66 through 72, and then we also had a Wolverine giant size Old Man Logan. And
which are the best. Giant size.
Yeah.
Giant size comics are the best.
Yeah, it's like if you don't collect comics, they'll take these issues, and they'll, especially special runs or special anything that's really getting a lot of attention, and they'll do these giant size special issues, and they're just awesome.
Yeah, for the big issue, for the big titles, it's usually like once a year it'll get a giant sized. For the smaller ones, not so much.
Yeah.
But really quick fun fact about Mark Millar. Mm-hmm. Mark Millar was the guy that helmed the writing initiative for Civil War, the Marvel Civil War event. Also Kingsman.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
Also Wanted.
Yeah.
Also Kick-Ass. So he knows his way. He knows how to write a comic book that people want to turn into a movie.
Yeah, I mean, not only what he writes stuff that people want to turn into a movie, but he also is really good at taking comic book stories or comic book tropes and kind of turning them on their head and doing new stuff with them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you only saw the movie Wanted, just know it bears very little resemblance to the actual comic book. The comic book is very little. The comic book is balls to the wall insane in the best way possible.
In the best way.
And same thing with, I mean, Kick-Ass was a good adaptation, but
it was really close.
Still,
yeah,
it was really close, and the comic is really awesome. He really knows how to take these interesting ideas. He's definitely a guy who's raised on comic books and knows them inside and out, knows all the tropes, and then likes to reimagine them in a new way. And Old Man Logan is really him doing that same thing, just with a character we're already familiar with.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. So, just to kind of set the background, Old Man Logan the story is set in an alternate universe Earth, 807128, and we know that 616 is the prime Earth Prime in the Marvel universe, or the Marvel canon. So this is set in the alternate universe of Earth, 807128, and in this alternate Earth, the U.S. has been conquered and divided up by all the big supervillains. You've got like the California area of the coast that was Abomination, and then Hulk came in and took over and now runs it kind of like a crazy landlord. Then you had kind of the American Southwest, Las Vegas, Nevada, all that stuff that was Magneto, and then Kingpin came in because Magneto was too old and Kingpin took over. Then you got Doctor Doom, you've got Red Skull, all these different. They've taken over different parts of the United States. You've got Red Skull's kind of taken over the central part of America. He has named himself as president, and most of the heroes have been wiped out. There's still a few left. They're in hiding, resistant cells, or just trying to survive. And Red Skull's kind of running things as as kind of the de facto self-appointed president. He even doesn't he in the book? Didn't he also put his face in Mount Rushmore? Am I remembering that correctly?
Oh man, I want to say yes.
I feel like I remember.
I don't know. The book's in my
literally
in my hands right now.
Yeah,
so.
But so it's really cool. And first, before we get to what's happening with Logan, I just want to. The book opens up with kind of this narration that just kind of sets the stage for it. And this doesn't give away anything. It just kind of gives you a taste of what the book is. There's the narration of the story at the very beginning, and it's interposed over shots of a bloody Wolverine crawling through some woodlands towards a train track.
Yep.
And all that the narration says, no one knows what happened on the night the heroes fell. All we know is that they disappeared and evil triumphed, and the bad guys have been calling the shots ever since.
Do you have the book in your hand also?
No, I found the narration again.
Oh,
I went and looked it up. Yeah. So, and then the narration continues. What happened to Wolverine is the biggest mystery of them all. Some say they hurt him like no one ever hurt before. Others say he just grew tired of all the fighting and retired to a simpler life. Either way, he hasn't raised his voice or popped his claws in 50 years. His old friends would barely recognize him now.
And then it shows it shows him on a horse on the next page.
Yeah, it's like that's one thing Mark Millar does really well is he's such a good storyteller. Like you have that narration setting the stage for you of almost all the heroes are gone. The few that are left are barely getting by. The heroes fell. The villains have won. They've taken over. And Wolverine is somewhere, but no one knows where he is really. And all we know is that in the last 50 years, he doesn't fight anymore, and no one knows why, and people wouldn't recognize him. And it's just a great way to set up the story of just this totally new look on this very familiar character. Just a few other background details that just sets up right in the beginning. We find out immediately after the narration that Logan is living with his wife and kids in Sacramento, which is now in Hulkland, the area controlled by Papa Hulk and his brood of hillbilly grandkids that are all born out of an incestuous relationship that Hulk had with his cousin She-Hulk.
First cousin She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So weird.
They talk about a little bit about it in that Bruce Banner and She-Hulk they went crazy because of all the radiation fallout from the nuclear bombs when stuff started going down, and that's like what led to their crazy behavior. But for whatever reasons that we're not going to get into because you don't want to give too much away, that whole part of the country is now controlled by Hulk and his crazy hillbilly Hulkish grandkids, and they're very cruel landlords. And Logan doesn't go by the name Wolverine anymore. He doesn't want to fight anymore. He tries to live a pacifist life. And then the conflict that starts the story off is Logan needs to pay his Hulk landlord's rent for his place. He doesn't have the money. They're not willing to wait on him. So Hawkeye shows up and he recruits Logan to travel to the East Coast on a job so that he can helping him transport something, a secret something, so he can get some money so he can pay him back. And that's the only reason he's going on this trip is so he can get the money to pay the Hulk bosses his rent so he can keep his family safe. That's all he wants out of life.
Fun fact, confirmed, Red Skull added his face to Mount Rushmore.
All right, I thought I remembered that, and I was just like,
it is just shy of center.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and I mean, there's a lot more we can get into, but we don't want to go too far into the book, just because we highly recommend that you read this book. It is a great,
guys. I
book.
don't recommend trade paperbacks very often. Only when asked for. I do not recommend trade paperbacks unsolicited as strongly as I recommend this one ever. But Wolverine Old Man Logan is probably one of the best story arcs that we have seen in our lifetime.
And yeah, I mean, especially because it's a fairly new, recent one. Like, there are a lot of really good ones that came out that have come out farther in the past, but this is still a relatively recent one, and which is crazy that it's already being adapted into a movie. And at least in some part, it's really good. And I mean, it's one thing you're seeing, Logan. We love seeing Logan, this grizzled, hardened, jaded view of Logan, even more jaded as he's traveling around this dystopian America. And you see a lot of familiar faces, and it's always interesting to see how they've turned out and what's happened. But really, this whole story is the story of one man who was brought to the brink, and he's just trying to get by now. But times being what they are, you can't stay out of it for long. It's like, hey, I tried to get out and they kept pulling me back in.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of just a quick rundown of what the Old Man Logan story arc is.
Yeah. If you're interested in reading it, enter our giveaway.
Yeah, enter our giveaway, and you might win it, and then you can read it before the movie comes out. And awesome. So yeah, that's the one that I've read. I have not read this next one.
Yeah, and the next one is the all new, all different Marvel Old Man Logan that came out in 2015, debuted during the Secret Wars event, where everything was kind of going absolutely nuts, that resulted in the all new, all different universe.
Mm-hmm.
It was picked up as a series in January of 2016 and has been running as its own standalone title since then. Old Man Logan has. It was originally written in the Secret Wars event by Brian Michael Bendis, drawn by Andrea Sorrentino. Once it was picked up as its own standalone series, Jeff Lemire started picking it up and writing for it. Interestingly enough, this actually takes place in the same alternate universe of Earth 807-128, but since 2009, when the original Old Man Logan finished, it has been since titled Battle World. So that is one of the names of this particular Earth is Battle World, which is Earth 807-128. It's very similar as far as general aesthetic. It has a lot of the same themes, very similar setting. The biggest difference is, whereas Old Man Logan by Mark Millar is kind of a man just beset by everyday problems.
Yeah.
This one is, he's old and angry.
Yeah.
So in this one, Logan actually embarks on a quest to prevent the events that led to his future of a near-apocalyptic world. So as Kris Too was kind of explaining, in 807-128, the U.S. has been conquered and divided by supervillains. Red Skull made himself president. Like, Hulk has incest-ridden hillbilly grandchildren. Like, it's weird. So definitely near apocalyptic. And in all new, all different.
They spell America with a K. I mean,
right.
Can't get much, but can't get much worse than that. Ugh.
No, but it's nuts. But with Logan, he kind of sets out. He encounters the X-Men on his way, kind of in pieces, but the most interesting part of it is, while Logan is going through all of this to try and undo certain events that he feel are major events that led to the way things are now, there is a group of paramilitary cyborgs known as Reavers who are after him, trying to catch him and kill him. Now, that's a really interesting thing that we will talk about in a minute when we're talking about the movie, because the Reavers show up there as well. But really what it all boils down to in the all new, all different Old Man Logan is it's just a bunch of death all the time, which is pretty perfect for Wolverine, especially as an angry old man.
I mean, going into these books, we should probably say, like, if you don't read a lot of comics, do know that these are a lot heavier and rougher than probably your average run-of-the-mill comics. Like, they are bloody. They are brutal.
Well, I think Mark Miller's Old Man Logan might even be labeled. Yeah, it is parental advisory. So
yeah, like some of the covers, like, I mean, it's him with the claws and just blood just running down his arm from the claws. Yeah. There is one point where he does come into conflict with Hulk, and how that ends is gross. Pretty crazy. Yeah.
But the all new, all different is very much along the same lines as far as violence. I would actually say it's even more so. Because in Old Man Logan, Mark Miller, it is kind of dialed back. He has kind of sworn away his claws. Whereas in All New, All Different, Old Man Logan, it is claws out, sink, like the whole time, fighting, death, craziness. It's great, though. It is really good. I don't think it's as good as Mark Miller, what Mark Miller did, but it's still a really enjoyable series thus far. But that brings us to the movie.
Yeah. And obviously, this is all to say, this episode is just kind of give you guys a quick setup for what was the inspiration for the movie. Obviously, the movie's not out yet, so we don't know a lot. We know it's written and directed by James Mangold, who was behind the Wolverine, the last standalone Wolverine movie, 3:10 to Yuma, which I really, really enjoyed.
Yep.
And Walk the Line. Like, James Mangold has had some really, really good stuff so far, and most of the information we have is either from the trailers or from the official synopsis that we've gotten, which says in 2024 the mutant population has shrunk significantly and the X-Men have disbanded. Logan, whose power to self-heal is dwindling, has surrendered himself to alcohol and now earns a living as a chauffeur. He takes care of the ailing old Professor X, whom he keeps hidden away. One day, a female stranger asks Logan to drive a girl named Laura to the Canadian border. At first, he refuses, but the professor has been waiting for a long time for her to appear. Laura possesses an extraordinary fighting prowess and is in many ways like Wolverine. She is pursued by sinister figures working for a powerful corporation. This is because her DNA contains the secret that connects her to Logan. A relentless pursuit begins. In this third cinematic outing featuring the Marvel comic book character Wolverine, we see the superheroes beset by everyday problems. They are aging, ailing, and struggling to survive financially. A decrepit Logan is forced to ask himself if he can or even wants to put his remaining powers to good use. It would appear that in the near future, the times in which they were able to put the world to right with razor-sharp claws and telepathic powers are now over.
So there are a couple things that immediately jump out at me. The first one being that we kind of skipped over slightly is Wolverine now earns his living as a chauffeur, which sounds a lot like Miller's Old Man Logan. Sort of. It's an interesting twist. But
driving around.
Yeah, also ties to driving Laura to the Canadian border. So there's a similar thread. And then another similar thread is a decrepit Logan is forced to ask himself if he can or even wants to put his remaining powers to good use, which I don't think we talked. Yeah, we did talk about it. Where in Miller's Old Man Logan, he has kind of sworn away his claws and he doesn't want to be referred to as Wolverine. He is done with that life.
And there are multiple times in the Mark Miller that, like, the story specifically sets up there are conflicts going on. It's almost like they're trying to pull him into the fight, and he is intentionally refusing to get involved. He's letting himself getting beat up.
Oh yeah.
because he wants to stay committed to this pacifist approach to life. He just wants to live in peace. But
yeah, and so when we talk about the movie, there are a couple of things that we know from the trailers, or just one big one really. We know that the Reavers show up, so that kind of ties back to the all new, all different Old Man Logan. With the Reavers are the ones that are chasing Logan, Laura, and Professor X in the, quote, relentless pursuit that is referenced in the synopsis. Also by sinister figures and powerful corporation. But an interesting thing that is kind of also referenced in the powerful corporation is Richard Grant has been cast. Well, obviously we know Laura, the girl, is Laura Kinney, X-23. So that being said, Richard Grant has been cast as Dr. Xander Rice, which is just kind of a stupid name unless you know the history of the character.
Yeah.
But Dr. Xander Rice is actually a huge character, a hugely small, vastly important character in the storyline of X-23. So Xander Rice has his father, I think it was Dean Rice was his dad's name, I think. Don't quote me on it. Going off the top of the head.
Dean Rice.
He was one of the head doctors on the Weapon X program. And when Logan actually broke out after he went through the surgery, I guess, he murdered Dean Rice kind of in his wake, not intentionally per se. Just in the struggle, the scramble,
right? Everything, just the chaos.
Yeah. So Dr. Xander Rice kind of followed his father's footsteps as he grew older, and is the head of surgery for the Weapon X recreation project, which is where X-23 came out of. They were trying to clone the Weapon X process, trying to clone Wolverine to create a second one, which we saw the worst possible adaptation of in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, you guys remember that abomination? Yeah. Ryan Reynolds sure does.
Right, but Dr. Xander Rice, he was the head of surgery, and his partner, Dr. Kinney, was shoot, I didn't write it down, but she was like the biochemist. I don't know. She was the one in charge of actually cloning Wolverine and creating the clone. They identified that the clone was accidentally made as a female, and Dr. Xander Rice was so infuriated, so mad that she made it female instead of making it male, that he then forced Dr. Kinney to be the surrogate mother of the clone. The clone came out to be X-23. So the fact that character is in this movie has huge potential to make this a X-23, not necessarily centric, but very, very big for character development.
Yeah, definitely that, like, it makes it look like they're going to be leaning more that direction.
Yeah, and we talked about it on Thursday in our Pineapple episode, where James Mangold is interested in an X-23 film. This little snippet of having Dr. Xander Rice involved is huge, and kind of supports that idea of creating an X-23 standalone movie a lot. So all of that to say, there are certain aspects that are definitely looking like they're lining up with Mark Miller's Old Man Logan. There are certain aspects that definitely look like they're lining up with all new, all different Old Man Logan. And then there are some aspects where Hollywood has taken its creative license and are going to be its own story. So it'll be interesting, if nothing else.
And it kind of makes sense because Hugh Jackman has been the cornerstone of the X-Men movies since the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And he's, I mean, like we said last time, he's been doing this for 17 years now, and he's ready to be done. So
yeah, and
it might be Fox's like trying to plan ahead what's going to be their next move to keep this cash cow going, and it's not the worst idea to be like, okay, well, audience really seem to love this type of character. Maybe we can do something new with it. Who knows?
Yeah, and one thing that I feel like we have to say, just for the sake of saying, Hugh Jackman has stated this is his last time. Yes.
Yeah.
Also on top of that, the whole X-Men rights situation, X-Men Marvel rights situation, makes it very difficult for this film to be a carbon copy of either of the Old Man Logan stories.
Oh yeah,
because
they don't have Hawkeye.
Very few of the characters actually exist.
Yeah.
In Fox's realm. And instead of saying, hey, Marvel, you guys own the majority of what we want to do, can you do it? They said, we got this, and they changed it. So we'll see how that works out. But also, Ryan Reynolds has mentioned that he is trying to get Wolverine into a Deadpool movie. So,
and which Hugh Jackman has like commented, not committed, but he has commented saying like that could be fun, it would be possible, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so it might be like
totally do it.
The one thing that would bring him back to do Wolverine was if he got to do a proper Wolverine versus Deadpool fight, as opposed to make us completely forget that abomination.
Yeah, I would also think it would be funny if he just had like an extended cameo as like Fat Wolverine. But that's a whole different subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, Logan hits theaters March 3rd. We're going to be doing a roundtable on March 6th. So check it out. If you don't want to check it out in theaters, check out the roundtable. If you do check it out in theaters, check out the roundtable.
I guarantee we will all have very strong opinions about this one.
Yeah, good, bad.
Hopefully good.
Yeah,
hopefully good.
Good, bad, or even mediocre. We will have strong opinions about wherever it falls on that scale.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for Topic Thunder. I mean, just Old Man Logan, check it out.
A good teaser to get you ready for the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but I think it's time to talk about some jams.
All right.
What's your jam?
What's your jam, Kris?
So, my jam, I know I've talked here a couple times in the past about board games, and you've talked about board games. We talk about board games a lot, especially when I'm on here. You and I talk about them together. And I think I've mentioned before that where I'm living right now, my wife and I really don't have any friends, none of our close friends are near us. And we haven't yet been able to find a gaming community where we live because we live in a really small town in Mississippi. So there's not that much opportunity to play games with other people. So lately my jam has been finding board games that are specifically designed for 2 players. And because
it's so sad.
It's sad, but at the same time, I mean there are some games out there that they are designed for more players, but they still play perfectly well with 2 players.
Sure.
And you can still do them. I think the last game I talked about on here was the DC deck building game. Since then, we played it a couple times, and playing it, I can definitely see, this would be really good with a lot more people, but it still works. It's not.
Oh yeah.
The game is not broken with 2 people. So we do games like that. Carcassonne, actually, in my opinion, works better as a 2-person game than 3 or 4 people.
I can see that.
But we've been finding some games that are specifically designed for 2 people because the designers out there know that there's a market for this. A couple specifically that we found recently that we like. Way back for my birthday, my wife bought me Raptor.
Yeah, she did.
Which I know I mentioned before, where one of you plays a mama raptor defending her baby raptors, the other one plays the scientist trying to catch the raptors and knock the mama out so they can get to the babies. It's basically Jurassic Park. It plays really fast. It sets up really fast, and it's a fun game. It's kind of like a high-low betting game where you have your cards and you're laying down cards of whoever has the higher number gets so many action points. Whoever has the lower number gets to do the action of the card. So it's a really fun game. I really think if any of you are out there looking for a two-person game, it's really fun. There's another game called that we just got, and we just busted it out, and I think it's great because we just talked about Thor on our last Pineapple episode. It's a game called Thunder and Lightning.
Nice.
And it's a two-player game that is designed around where one of you is playing Thor, the other one is playing Loki. Loki has stolen Odin's crown, and Odin has given Thor his Odin's ring. And so those are like both people have they have a deck of cards. In the deck is that special item that you need to protect for the whole game, and you're just laying out throughout the game. You're laying out cards. You have armies and shield walls and archers and trolls and all this stuff, and then some of the really big bad monsters from Norse mythology that you're basically laying out an army on the table, and you're challenging one another, and you're eventually trying to whittle down your opponent's army so you can get to whatever the special item is. And it's a really fun card. It's a deck. Everyone has their deck that's already built for them, and then it's strategy of how do you play, how do you trick them into playing other things, reveal their cards, get rid of cards. It's a fun, quick, not a quick game. It's a quick setup, but it probably is like a 45-minute game. It's another great two-player game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and there are a couple more out there. There's one called And Then We Held Hands, which is actually built around relationships, and you're trying to get your pieces to end up together in the game. But the whole point of the game is you're not supposed to talk about the game at all when you're playing it. You're supposed to talk about anything else, but you're not supposed to. You're cooperating, but you have to cooperate by trying to take the perspective of the person you're playing with without having them just tell you what to do. So you're trying to think about your partner while you're thinking about yourself, but you're not talking about it. You're talking about anything else. The game encourages you just to sit there and have a conversation with your probably significant others who you're playing this game with while you're playing this game, and hopefully by the end of the game you end up in the same place and you win, and you've learned how to cooperate with each other without actually having to focus on the strategy of the game.
Interesting.
So those are just a couple of the games. My jam has been two-player games because we don't have any other friends.
Because we have no friends.
So, because I love board games, and there's a lot of board games I'd love to play more of, but they just don't really work great with just two people. You can play them, but they're just not as fun. So, lately our focus has been these two-player games. So, that's my jam. Hey, Chris.
Yup.
What's your jam?
My jam is Legion. So, Legion is the brand new X-Men show on FX.
Yeah.
About the bastard son of Professor X named David Haller.
Holla?
David Haller. Episode 1 is 67 minutes. The first 25 minutes, you are confused the entire time. Like, you have no idea what you're watching.
What's going on?
It's just like this is gonna be One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like, this is just gonna be a bunch of crazy people in a crazy house doing crazy people things, and then like some crazy stuff happens. Like, not like some
more crazy stuff,
right?
Crazy stuff.
Some outlandish things happen, and you're like, oh snap! And then like 5 minutes of this really awkward, like, all right, Mr. Crazy Person, tell me why you're crazy interview happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then the interviewer leaves, and like that's all I'm gonna say, because that is when the show just like gets awesome. It gets so good. He leaves and he has some conversations and comes back, and it's just like, I can't wait for this show to go on.
Cool.
But it's been so great. It was such an impressive pilot. I cannot wait to watch more episodes of it. I'm sure I'm going to get to more this week. I just honestly, traveling with work and all this kind of stuff, I haven't really had the opportunity to do so as much as I would like.
I haven't gotten to watch it yet, but it's on. It's waiting for me at home when I get a free I guess 67 minutes.
Right. It is so good. I definitely recommend it to everybody. Hopefully it keeps it up because it crushed it with the pilot.
Awesome. I'd love to see some more good comic book shows, because some of them are good, some of them are not as good.
Not so much that.
Yeah. Lucifer is just awesome. So.
Oh my gosh, Lucifer is amazing.
It's the one that even if any of the other ones disappoint me, I know at least I've got Lucifer to keep me up. So.
This is like the most satanic conversation.
Yay, Lucifer!
But anyways, that's my jam. And that's the show.
Yeah.
So we did it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really quick before we head out, we've got a giveaway going on right now. We're actually giving away a copy of Mark Miller's Old Man Logan, the trade paperback issues 66 through 72 plus giant size. We're going to be giving that away, as well as one of the limited edition postcards from the film's 1974 Frames of Logan event. So how that's going to work, it's happening on social media. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we'll be posting 5 photos total, each of them marked with hashtag BTC giveaway. So check those out. You can post all 5 of them. You will get counted once per post. So if you post all 5, you get 5 entries. So there you go. And then
it's really easy, guys.
Yeah, and then just make sure you hashtag BTC giveaway, hashtag Logan, and hashtag Wolverine. And that'll enter you in, and we will end the contest on February 27th and announce our winner on social media later that day.
So like a week and a week from this episode.
Yeah, a week from today.
So plenty of time still, guys.
Yeah, plenty of time. And then, on top of that, if you guys are interested in being a sponsor of the show, check out Patreon. It's like Kickstarter, but monthly. You can check that out at betweenthecons.com/Patreon. Or Satchel, which is a podcast player where you can tip and tweet while listening. Or you can just shop on Amazon and use the link at the bottom of our page, betweenthecons.com. And that'll take you to our Amazon affiliate, Amazon page. It's not really a page. It's just Amazon.
It just takes the Amazon, but it was redirected from us.
Yeah, it redirects from us, so we get a little kickback on how much you spend. So that's really cool. And then, of course, if you don't know where to find anything Between the Cons, you need to go to betweenthecons.com. That's our website. You can stream all our episodes online, link out to all our social media, read all the news, do all the fun stuff. If you
talk to us, we'll talk to you.
We will
talk to you.
We really will. If you guys like our theme music, check out Affix It on Bandcamp. He's the one that put it together. And then make sure you guys tune in on Thursday, because the Wonder Twins are coming back, and we're going to be filling you in on the latest and greatest nerdy news in Pineapple.
Woo!
So you guys have a great week. Tune in on Thursday, and we will talk to you then.
Bye! Give me a hot sec.